Gentleman from South Carolina has 3 minutes.
Barrett. I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, before coming to Congress, I owned a small furniture store, the best and only store in Westminster, South Carolina. We sold only furniture, we did one thing, and we did it pretty good. And before that, I was a captain in the United States Army, had a pretty clear job title. In both organizations, I was taught to keep operations focused and not expand our mission beyond its initial goals. So what does this have to do with the legislation that we're talking about today? Well, unfortunately, this bill is a perfect example of Congress's bad habits of expanding its initial missions, a habit that brought us Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Community Reinvestment Act, and guess what? The Alternative Minimum Tax. I voted for the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act to restore liquidity and stability into America's financial system, allowing American businesses to access credit so they could obtain inventory, buy supplies, and make payroll. I supported this act to prevent what many experts call an economic tsunami, and I'm glad that we haven't seen the widespread financial mayhem that I think was certain. We had to take extraordinary measures during those extraordinary times. But don't you think it's common sense to examine how we spent the first $350 billion before we even discuss how we're going to spend the second $350 billion? I agree with my colleagues that the first $350 was spent too hastily and haphazardly, and I believe there was not enough oversight or planning by the Treasury Department for how this money was to be used. However, I fully support the efforts of this bill to improve transparency, oversight, and disclose exactly how the taxpayer money is being used, but I'm extremely concerned that this legislation expands the goals of the Troubled Assets Relief Program and brings us even further from its original mission, which did not include providing a fund to prop up failing corporations or putting politically motivated mandates on private businesses in order or exchange for government funds. This legislation will expand government interference in the private markets even more, Mr. Speaker, and I urge my colleagues to oppose H.R. 384. Yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts.